There's an interesting story that's emerging from the Vatican and St. Peter's Basilica, which is considered one of the holiest sites in Christendom, in Catholicism, also a beacon of cultural and artistic heritage, a testimony to centuries of devotion, a locus of spiritual significance, an artistic icon under the protection of Bernini, and the Bernini's Baldacchino has only just been cleaned and unveiled. It's a place where the faithful from all corners of the world converge to pray, to pay their respects, to marvel at the architectural grandeur that encapsulates the religious fervour of generations past and present. But on a seemingly ordinary day, the serenity of this sacred space was shattered by a man in a mask. On Friday, an unsettling event unfolded beneath this towering magnificence. And a man, apparently from Romania, ascended the altar of the confession, the very site that tradition holds to be directly above the tomb of St. Peter himself, and proceeded to cast the 6 golden candelabra to the ground. And these objects, dating back to 1865, are not only expensive, but hold deep religious and historical significance. As witnesses gasped in horror, he'd gone beyond the sort of barricade. He stripped the altar of its white altar cloth before being subdued by Vatican guards, and the act was brazen, unexpected, and left many questioning his motives. This isn't the first time St. Peter's Basilica has been the stage for shocking acts. In 2023, another individual mounted the same altar, this time taking his clothes off, holding a sign protesting against the war in Ukraine. And in 2021, another man did the same sort of thing on the high altar. And while such acts vary in intention, they all disrupt the sanctity of the place, designed for veneration, reflection, and peace. To understand the gravity of the act, you need to turn to canon law. And under canon 1210, sacred places are to be used solely for worship, piety, and religious practice. So any action contrary to the holiness of the site is strictly forbidden, and is therefore a desecration. The destruction of sacred objects on the altar of St. Peter's is not merely an act of vandalism, but it's a profound violation of religious tradition and reverence. And as footage of the incident spread across social media, public sentiment was fairly swift and unequivocal. Many expressed their horror not just from a religious perspective, but from a broader cultural one. One viewer said, it's not about religion, it's about the artistic heritage of humanity. Another said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And the sense of collective outrage was palpable, with some highlighting the gesture itself as more troubling than the physical damage inflicted. But the Vatican press office later described the suspect as a person suffering from a serious mental disorder. And if true, it raises questions about how we address mental health in the context of a desecration. Was this a personal crisis manifesting in destruction, or was it an act of protest against an institution perceived by some as a bastion of wealth and power? Until the details emerge, one can only speculate. It doesn't change, I think, the nature of the destruction, of the desecration. Places of worship, be they churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, carry an intrinsic sanctity that extends beyond their religious function, and they're repositories of faith, of history, of artistic achievement, and to defile such a place is to violate not just a building, but the collective reverence that it commands. And even those who do not subscribe to Catholicism acknowledge St. Peter's Basilica as a site of immense cultural and artistic importance. And this is why acts of desecration, whether intentional or results of a personal crisis, resonate so profoundly. I remember vividly when the Pietà was shattered, and I remember going to Rome and seeing its reconstructed form and the hands back together again. But while this incident will fade from the headlines fairly quickly, it leaves behind enduring questions about the role of sacred space in the modern world, how it's protected, how it's managed, and what compels individuals to make these grand destructive gestures in places of reverence. How Should such transgressions be addressed with legal action, with compassion, or both? And ultimately, how do we as a society protect the sanctity of spaces that stand as symbols of something greater than ourselves?